We are continuing in Al-Mu'taqad al-Saghir by Imam Ibn Khafeef, the direct student of Imam al-Ash'ari, rahimahullah ta'ala. We are still, we're at the end of the book, and the author is still talking about Sufis and saints. And like last time, I'll try my best, inshallah, with this Sufi talk that I am uh, not an expert in. And so the author says, Rahimahullah ta'ala, ويعتقد أن عصيان الأنبياء سبب لقربتهم. And he, that believer, holds as a conviction that عصيان الأنبياء, so the word عصيان means disobedience, that the عصيان, disobedience of the prophets, the عصيان of the prophets, says was, okay, I'll just put it as is to reflect the Arabic, is sababun liqurbatihim, a cause, a reason for their liqurbatihim, yani for their gaining a closer status with God, with Allah Ta'ala. And someone might take this statement the wrong way or not know what the author is saying. How could a sin be a reason for someone to get a better status? So what it means is that because of what they did, they would fix their situations. Yani, that's what I can say in simple terms. Doesn't mean that the disobedience itself is the thing that makes them better to Allah, but uh, being motivated after that to be even greater is what's intended here. Like what might happen to one of us. One might disobey Allah, and then after that, he is dedicated to never do it again and to redeem himself and be even better. وَفَوَائِدُ لِأُمَّتِهِمْ, he says, and it's a source of benefit. Let's say benefits. Fawaid is plural. And benefits for their nations. ويعتقد أن عصيان الأنبياء سبب لقربتهم وفوائد لأمتهم. He, that believer, holds as a conviction that the disobedience of the prophets is a cause for their gaining a closer status with God. Yani, is motivator for them to be even better. وَفَوَائِدُ لِأُمَّتِهِمْ, and benefits for their nations. وَلَا يُسَمَّوْنَ عُصَاةً لِعِصْيَانِهِمْ. They are not called disobedient because of their disobedience. They are not called or named or described as disobedient because of their disobedience. بل نقول عصى آدم. Rather we say Adam disobeyed. ولا نقول هو عاص. And we do not say he is disobedient. Yes. Subhanallah wa bihamdi. And some people, they lie on us in this way that the author is saying. They say those people, they insult us with the most severe insults they can conjure. Those effers, They say that my Prophet Muhammad is a sinner. That's their lie that they tell on us. And they won't find that in anything we said or any literature that we teach or anything that the Shaykh gave, rahimahullah. So one of them would say, yes, you said it's a real, you say ma'asiyah haqiqiyah. Yeah. Still doesn't mean, yani, you have no reference that we say Muhammad is a sinner and that Adam is a sinner. We never said that. Just for exactly why the author is saying we don't say this is why those people say that we say that. Because their goal is really to slander us. So they could sense in themselves that to say that we say that the Prophet is a sinner is even uglier than saying what he did was a real sin. So they don't suffice with that. They want to add something we don't say. We agree completely here with what the author is saying, rahimahullah ta'ala. And we practice that. So we say, uh, Allah said about Muhammad, وَاسْتَغْفِرْ لِذَنْبِكَ, and we'll say that's dambun haqiqi, and we won't say Muhammad is mudhnib. Muhammad is a sinner. We don't say that. And if someone doesn't understand the difference here, linguistically that is, the descriptive name, such as al-asi, sinner, or disobedient, or mudhnib, sinner, the descriptive name has the sense of constance, being constant, being normal. So when you say he is a sinner, this gives the sense that this is his case, his lasting, ongoing case. And we don't say, we never said that. So if you ever heard some person saying, they say Muhammad is a sinner, you can say to him, don't lie on those people. Don't lie on the Muslims for your own envy and hatred and fear. MashaAllah. So that's a nice statement there. And yani, what kind of disobedience would that be? It would be a small sin that does not display low character, from which said prophet would repent immediately before anyone follows him. This is the saying of the majority of the scholars, like Imam an-Nawawi said and Judge Iyad the Maliki said. So don't be pressured and don't be shaken by some dishonest people motivated by envy and hatred and fear also. Then the author goes on. He says, rahimahullah, وَيَعْتَقِدُ أَنَّ التَّصَوُّفَ لَيْسَ بِعِلْمٍ وَلَا عَمَلٍ. And he holds as a conviction that Sufism, tasawwuf, is not, yani, is neither a, let's say, mere science or knowledge, nor a, let's say, fleeting practice. Fleeting means like something you do and you get it done with, and now it's over. Like you might, for example, do your tariqah, So you do it and you finish, and might not be even consistent with it. Or something else you might do, and then you're done with it. He is saying that believer holds as a conviction that Sufism is not a mere science or knowledge, merely, not more than a science. Nor does he believe that the Sufism is some practice that is started and finished. بل هو صفة جلية يحلى بها ذات الصوفي. But rather a luminous quality. صفة جلية. Okay. A luminous quality, a clear, obvious, uh, a quality with uh, an appearance. يحلى بها ذات الصوفي. By which the Sufis being is adorned. وَلَهَا عِلْمٌ وَعَمَلٌ. It has both knowledge and action. وَهُوَ مِيزَانُ الْعِلْمِ وَالْعَمَلِ. And it is the balance of knowledge and action. So this is just a taste of how the Sufis talk also. This Imam, if he wanted to talk in a way that we do not comprehend, he would be able to. So one holds as a conviction that Sufism is not some knowledge, merely a knowledge that's devoid of a practice, nor is it some practice that is done and finished and then left behind after it's over with. Yani, the Sufism is not a mere knowledge that is studied. You merely study it. And that's like what Sheikh Samir was saying, like he said to me when I asked him, and I heard him say on other occasions, when I asked him, can you give us something in Sufism? Can you teach us a book in Tasawwuf? He said to me, and I heard him say on other occasions, some of them say that Tasawwuf is not something you study. They said it's a practice, it's a lifestyle, something you live. It is implementation of the Sunnah in a complete way, not something that you just sit down and learn about it like it has rules, like the way you learn about other types of knowledge. It has rules, of course, but something special. And likewise, it's not merely some practice that is performed at some time and then finished with. Rather, it is a lifestyle. It is, it's a lifestyle. And it's a quality that anyone who practiced, anyone who followed the Prophet's lifestyle and the Prophet's situations, he will be adorned by this lifestyle. The one who follows the Prophet's lifestyle and the Prophet's observes the Prophet's situations, alayhi salatu wassalam, he will be adorned by his observance of the Prophet's lifestyle and the Prophet's situations. Because this is the way of Sufism, like we mentioned when we first started talking about this, the Tasawwuf is practicing the Sunnah in a complete way. It's not something different from practicing the Sunnah. It is practicing the Sunnah in a complete way, though, because the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wa ala alihi wasallam, he was disinterested in the world. We say, in terms of the quality, the attribute, the Prophet was a Sufi, and all of the prophets were, and also the guided caliphs, they were. Even if they weren't using that name, but in lifestyle and in practice, uh, they were Sufis. It's just Sufi is a name that uh, came about later for something that was already being practiced. And how is this adornment? How does one decorate himself in this way? He decorates his inside and his outside. He decorates his inside by purifying himself inwardly. And he decorates his outside by making his limbs comply. By making his limbs comply with what is acceptable to Allah. وَلَهَا عِلْمٌ وَعَمَلٌ. The Sufism has knowledge and practice. The Sufism has knowledge and practice, meaning that the seeker will not reach the level of a true Sufi without acquiring the knowledge. The knowledge that is accompanied with practice. That's what Al-Junayd al-Baghdadi meant when he said, مذهبنا هذا مقيد بأصول الكتاب والسنة. This way of ours is restricted to the fundamentals of the book and the Sunnah. Yani Sufism is not outside of the book and the Sunnah. That's Wahhabi creed to believe that Tasawwuf is outside of the Sunnah. That's not Ibn Taymiyyah's creed, though. So Sufism is knowledge and practice. It's not a mere knowledge. It's not merely something studied and understood. And it's not a mere practice that is done and finished. That is, started and then finished. It's not like that. وَهُوَ مِيزَانُ الْعِلْمِ وَالْعَمَلِ. It is the balance of knowledge and practice. Subhanallah wa bihamdi. So I don't know if I'm making this look easy, but it's not easy what I'm saying, what I'm translating to you. Subhanallah wa bihamdi. He says, Rahimahullah, وَالتَّصَوُّفُ غَيْرُ الْفَقْرِ وَالتَّقْوَى غَيْرُ التَّصَوُّفِ. Sufism is not the poverty. And piety is not the Sufism. Meaning not in and of itself. Sufism is not the poverty. Meaning it's not poverty. It's not a condition for a person to be a Sufi that he would be poor. For sure, that's not the case. Some of these Sufis were very wealthy, but their hearts are not attached to their wealth. Rather, this wealth is a tool for them. It's a means for fulfilling obligations and doing many good deeds and supporting the religion. وَالتَّقْوَى غَيْرُ التَّصَوُّفِ. And piety or God-fearingness is not Sufism. Not by itself, that is. Because it's possible for someone to be a taqi. Someone could be a pious, God-fearing person who enjoys luxuries. Enjoying luxuries in a way that is contrary to Sufism. Is a person not a Sufi because he enjoyed something? No. Yani, if you ate some food and it tastes good, you don't have to feel bad that it tastes good. And that's not going to make you not a Sufi. Or if you had some clothing that looks nice, you don't have to feel guilty that your clothing looks nice. That's not going to make you not a Sufi. And the likes of that. The tasawwuf, the Sufism, is in the heart. It is for the person's heart to truly be detached from these things. But if something tastes good and you put it on your tongue, and then you recognize how enjoyable its flavor is, that doesn't mean you're not a Sufi. And if you do have clothing, all sorts of nice things, cars, let's say, this doesn't mean you're a sinner. You could be a pious person, God-fearing person. Because you are doing your obligations and avoiding the sins. So the Sufism is not poverty, and the God-fearingness is not Sufism, meaning not in and of themselves. The author says, وَلَيْسَ لِلْفَقِيرِ أَنْ يَتَصَرَّفَ فِي الْأَسْبَابِ وَلِلصُّوفِي التَّصَرُّفِ. The poor one, this poor one, this faqir, is not any poor one, any person who's poor. We're talking about Sufis here. This faqir here is a Sufi. The poor one is not to engage in worldly means. وَلَيْسَ لِلْفَقِيرِ أَنْ يَتَصَرَّفَ فِي الْأَسْبَابِ. This refers to some of those Sufis who are dedicated to leaving out the dunya in a very complete way. وَلِلصُّوفِي التَّصَرُّفِ. But the Sufi, he may do so. He may engage in worldly means. What? How's this? What does this mean? I just told you this faqir is a Sufi. He said, the faqir, the poor one, is not to engage in worldly means. And I claim that this faqir is a Sufi. And then he said, and the Sufi may engage in the worldly means. So how's the faqir a Sufi then? Because there's levels, there's ranks of Sufis. There's a kind of Sufi who's called faqir. And not every Sufi is a faqir Sufi. Poor one. The Sufi who's a faqir, he is the one who is dedicated to relying on Allah for anything, for everything. Yeah, and you're always going to rely on Allah. What do I mean by that? Like, he is the one who does not work, for example. He doesn't seek means from himself. He doesn't put the effort for seeking those means. Rather, he relies on Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. This fakir, according to the Sufis, is the one who abandons earning when lacking. He abandons earning when lacking. When he's lacking, he doesn't go out to get more. Rather, he's patient. And his lifestyle is reliance on Allah and living off whatever Allah brings his way. That's the fakir. So when the author says that the fakir, the poor one, is not to engage in worldly means, he means the one who wants to be on this level, the one who wants to be this kind, or wants to be in this class, then to be in this class, then he should not engage in worldly means. Yani, what does one of us do when his money starts running low? He thinks how he's going to get some more money. He starts to hustle more. He starts to move around and make moves so that he can patch the gap. So that's not the fakir, according to the Sufis. But that doesn't mean that the person is a sinner or less than pious, or it doesn't even mean that he's not a Sufi. But there's this kind of Sufi. Because the author says right there, Wali Sufi at tasarruf. The Sufi, yani the one who is not living the lifestyle of the fakir, he may engage in worldly means. Then the author says, وَالْمَعْرِفَةُ وَالْإِيمَانُ وَالتَّوْحِيدُ لَيْسَتْ بِأَحْوَالٍ. He says the ma'rifah, I'm going to translate ma'rifah as awareness. And faith, iman, and tawheed, and monotheism, laysat bi ahwal, are not spiritual states. Not at all. Because of the bat. Laysat bi, the bat emphasizes the negation. Not at all spiritual states. And what this refers to is, this is according to these ahwal, is translated here. Let me put ahwal here. They are not ahwal. And then I'll put spiritual states in parentheses. And who knows better words to put here, let him put them here. Or Yani, you can suggest to me and I'll fix it. I'll adjust it. Awareness and faith and monotheism are not at all ahwal. So you know ahwal is the plural of hal. Hal means the situation, state, case. You say kayf al hal, how's the hal, how's the situation. So what does the author mean by saying that ma'rifah, that I translated as awareness, and iman, faith, and monotheism are not ahwal? This is according to ahwal, referring to some bestowals that flood a person, some bestowals that flood one. And these bestowals, these flooding bestowals, are not earned. Yani, meaning awareness and faith and monotheism, these are acquired. Yani, you will learn about them. You'll learn about Iman, you'll learn about Tawheed. You acquire knowledge that you didn't have previously by your working for it. You work for it, you put the effort for it, and then you gain it. What's meant by the ahwals here is not like that, right? Yani, I can't say about myself I ever had a hal so that I can talk to you from experience here. nor did a sheikh explain to me clearly what does hal mean for the Sufis. Yani, clearly in a way that I can elaborate for you in very clear terms. But these hals, these ahwal, these states, circumstances, situations, that's how the word translates literally. They are bestowals that by which one is flooded, by which one is overcome. Yani, it is his practice of Sufism that makes this come to him. And for him, what the author is saying here is that you don't make a goal to get these situations like you make a goal to learn the knowledge. With the meaning of, okay, I want to learn this chapter. Now I'm going to sit down and study. I'm going to pull all my resources. I learned from teachers. I reviewed my notes. I listened to recordings. I cross-referenced the books and I gain knowledge here. So what I just described to you here is kasb. I'm earning. I'm working to get something here. These ahwal, the author is saying, they're not like that. It's translated here as spiritual states, but in parentheses. So I can't really say more here. Subhanallah wa bihamdi. Let's stop here, just so I can review more, insha'Allah ta'ala. I feel nervous to go over something with so little background information. I'm not used to it. I'm used to teaching what I have, something I can back up strongly. But now I have committed to this, going over this with you. I don't want to cut the book off and then just not finish it. Or else I'll stop. I will say, let's not finish this book. But we're almost at the end, and I don't want to do that here. Allahumma yassir wala tu'assir. Do you have any question I can answer for you? Yes, go ahead, please. You said, is pausing a change that one shouldn't apply to God? Pausing is, yani, I don't know any, even, let me say it like this. Can one even attribute pausing to Allah? So I don't know any ayah that confirms for Allah an attribute or an action called pausing. And I don't know any hadith that does, and I never heard about any scholar who says this is one of the attributes of Allah. So even if it's not a change that one shouldn't apply to Allah, is it something that a person simply can attribute to Allah? So if it didn't come in the Quran or the Sunnah or the consensus, it cannot be applied to Allah, even if it has a correct meaning. You can follow up with your question if you want to. You're welcome. Barakallahu fikum. Subhanaka Allah.
I've heard that in order to become a wali, or the wali has to be, I can't remember now, either a Sufi or a Zahid. You know, you cannot become a wali.
The Shaykh said a person will not become a wali without being disinterested in the world, without zuhud.
Okay.
Zuhud, which is being disinterested in the world.
Would you say that's all the time means a Sufi?
No, mere disinterest in the
How can
world
you,
is not the
yeah,
soul. It's not the soul.
how can you be disinterested in the world and not be Sufi? If you can elaborate on that for me.
Because, for example, even amongst the kuffar, there are people who don't care about clothes, they don't care about money, but for sure they're not Sufis. They said about some of those kuffar, I don't know if it's Albert Einstein or what, he had, according to them, the same outfit. Like many, he had the same outfit for many days, different days. I mean, he would change his clothes, but it's the same outfit every time. So he always looks like he's wearing the same clothes. They say this is due to his lack of interest, and they say due to his intelligence, he just used to, and his lack of being interested in the world, according to them. He just had the same outfit over and over and over again, so he wouldn't have to think about it. What day is it, and all that? What should I wear? And he's assuming this is true. He's still not a Sufi.
I don't know.
I mentioned this to Hajj Tawfiq once. The very thing I just told you now. He said he's still gonna have other shahawat though. I mean, he's gonna have other desires though, bad ones, low desires. Even if he was disinterested in the world here or there, Hajj Tawfiq was saying he's still going to have bad desires somewhere else. The Sufism is practicing the Sunnah. Sufism is practicing the Sunnah in a complete way,
Okay.
not merely being disinterested in the world.
So practicing the sunnah will lead a person to
Yeah, it
actually
is
be a
practicing the Sunnah. It's practicing the Sunnah in a complete way. Because the Prophet ﷺ, he was disinterested in the world. But not just only being disinterested in the world, it's also practicing the Sunnah in a complete way. So when I say in a complete way, so what if a person, he only wears thobes? He always has his pants over his ankles. He keeps his beard, let's say, etc. He never misses Jumu'ah. He doesn't miss a fast. He doesn't miss a prayer. So looks like he practiced the Sunnah. He does practice the Sunnah. That doesn't mean he's a Sufi though. The description I just gave you doesn't mean he's a Sufi. And like we mentioned before, what we learned, a person might be a Sufi really, and when you see him from the outside, you see his clothes are yani fresh, pristine, nice. He has nice car, nice house, everything. And he would be a Sufi really. It could be that underneath those clothes, his underclothes are raggedy. Not dirty though, not najis though, just raggedy. It's because his heart's not really attached to those things. He said, can I repeat the part where I said if we didn't hear such wordings from scholars? I don't remember saying that. Help me out here. Oh. Yeah. So here's your question. You said, is pausing a change that one shouldn't apply to God? So what I understand from your question is that, is pausing a change? Does pausing imply change? And therefore can't be attributed to Allah? That's how I understand your question. So the way I answered your question was to say, uh, even if pausing is not a change, whatever it's supposed to mean, if there is no ayah from the Quran that confirms this as an attribute of Allah or authentic hadith or a consensus of the scholars, we cannot attribute it to Allah even if it has a correct meaning. So that's what I was saying. So you can follow up if you want to. Well, I said it can't be attributed to Allah even if it has a correct meaning. So when I say even if it has a correct meaning, it's not going to be blasphemy if it has a correct meaning. For example, mustati', this word mustati', it means qadir. Qadir means powerful, has power. Mustati' means qadir. It's not permissible to say Allah is mustati'. It's not going to be blasphemy. But it's not permissible because it didn't come in the Quran, it didn't come in the Sunnah, and there's no consensus about it. Yani, because there's a rule. Al-asma'u wa sifat tawqifiyah. The names and attributes of Allah are limited to the revelation. So according to this rule, Wafiq, according to this rule, even a word that has actually a befitting meaning, if it didn't come in the revelation, you can't use it. So in my answer, I didn't confirm for you what pausing means. And I didn't confirm for you whether it's a change or it's not a change. I settled with the fact that there's no ayah or hadith or consensus about it, so it can't be used anyway. For Allah. Ameen Wafiq. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك.